Hey, I'm Andy Chanley from 88.5 FM, and this is another one of our Here at Home teleconference interviews. And today we're joined by Dispatch. How you guys doing?
We're doing good, Andy. Thanks for having us.
You're looking on the screen here at Brad Corrigan and Chad Urmston. Pete's on assignment. And we got a new EP from you guys. Phase One is the name of the new EP?
Yes.
Okay. Can I call it an EP or should I call it a phase?
I was going to say, Chad, you better take that one.
Yeah, it's phase 1 of 5. So
Wow.
yeah, it's not necessarily an EP, but I can understand how it would come off that way.
Yeah, we have a real need to pigeonhole things. I've got 2 brain cells. I'm a DJ.
I hear
We've
you.
either got 5 EPs coming or one full album that's broken into 5 phases.
Well, that actually, that's something that. Well, let me talk to you about this. First of all, "May We All" is the song we've been playing on 88.5 FM here lately.
Right on.
There will be a phase 2 and phase 3. I'm told now phase 4 and 5 with a full length coming out in 2021. Now, is that going to be a collection of all the phases? Or yes, it's all put together. Saint Motel did something kind of like that in the last year or so. I can't remember what the name of it is now, but the different things. Now, that makes me ask the question, in doing that, can I assume that there's a through line to phase 1 and a through line to phase 2, and that they all come together, or are they separated because they're disparate things? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Chado?
they're all connected. Through line is the key word there, Andy. They're all phases of change or phases of grief, which is the 5 phases of change or grief are somewhat similar in the path that one takes, because there's always a little grief and change, I suppose. And obviously lots of change in grief. So we're kind of following these phases, and we've gone. What started this was just what Brad and I specifically, and our country, has gone through in the last 4 years. When we first started really getting the band cooking again, it was 4 years ago, and Trump was elected in the middle of our recording up in San Francisco. We were recording, and it was I'm sure you remember that night, but it was what do you say, surreal at best. So and then just personal change and kind of the global and especially our country, the social climate of what we've gone through in the last 4 years, especially in the last year. And so we were lucky to, we are still finishing up kind of phase 5 right now. And like in May We All, there's lyrics that are there that, reflect directly the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah. Absolutely. And reading the lyrics to that and listening to the song, it feels like you're really speaking to a lack of civility and a lack of empathy and a lack of responsibility and a lack of leadership in way. Those things, had to have been on your mind necessarily as you were making this music.
Yeah, and it feels like if anything, in phase 1 or in the most turbulent times as our country, we're more unified in chaos than unified in hope. So like just the insanity that we've moved through, and then hoping that somehow there is that we're better, wiser, more compassionate, more grateful, more present as we get all the way through all the phases of grief and change. Hopefully you move from, being unified in chaos to being unified in hope, or unified in belonging to one another.
Yeah, it's interesting. You just brought it up a second ago, how you guys basically, just got the engine going a few years ago, and then and you're ready for this next album to really get going, get out and tour and all of these things, and then the rug pulled out from under you. I've talked to so many, artists that are in the same situation. It has to just be a gut punch. I mean, it is to all of us, and this has been, terrible in many ways, but when you ply your trade by going out and, playing for people, that's how, musicians, that's how you make your way these days. How did that feel? And how have you been dealing with that I guess we're hearing that in the music.
I feel, we have been lucky that we were in the studio in February together.
Yeah.
Flew home, and then we had an album that we really wasn't as far along as we thought it could be. So we really spent the next 6 months fine tuning the record and working with engineers and our producers and engineers and honestly, we kind of needed those months to get the record to where it is today. So we've been lucky and busy, and I don't know what we would have done had I don't think we would have released the record, which we planned to do before this summer's tour. We really needed the extra time to fine tune the songs.
Yeah. And I think it was a point of consolation for us too, instead of looking at like, oh my gosh, we don't have a record and we don't have a tour. At least we had been in the studio right before the whole country shut down. And I mean, the timing of that is like the planets aligning. I'm just grateful. And Chad and I are super grateful that we were able to, time is so hard to come by. Chad has 3 kids. I'm a new dad. We're trying to balance so many different things. So much goes into the timing of a record, and that time is so valuable. And man, we snuck it in right before, the rug that you mentioned came out from under us. So yeah, to have that music at least now makes us feel like even though we're not on tour, there's this, there's a connection with our fans still. And man, that carries a lot of weight.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, congratulations on the new member of your family, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah. He's 7.5 weeks.
7.5 weeks. Oh, you're in it. You haven't slept. You haven't slept in months.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It really is, isn't it? People warn you. They say, yeah, you're not going to sleep. You're not even going to see colors anymore. You're like, yeah. I'm sure you're right. And then you get in it and you realize that you can't be saved from this. And we were talking, Chad, you've got 3 of them running around there. And yeah, I've got 2. It's fun having kids during quarantine. It's lesson in humility.
Yeah, totally.
So this is the first time I'm talking to you guys, and so excuse me going back a ways to get some history, but there's a conspicuous absence of first of all 24 years. It's going to be 25 years. Like, next year. I mean, have you had a chance to take stock in how long you've been together? That's a rarity.
We are stoked and proud of it and frightened by it. I think we're like, that is awesome. Holy shit. Let's keep making music.
I'm really old. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
That must mean I'm 25 years older. Yeah.
Right.
I was just thinking because we have, Brad and I have also, as the years go by, we are more honest with each other than we were years ago. And it's just so easy. It's so easy to see why bands don't stay together and why relationships come apart. It just takes a little bit of that tension to like, go over the edge. And then someone says something, and then someone says something worse, and then it's just like, you can just see it blowing up. But so Brad and I really tried to just like be super honest, and of course, there's so much history and love over the years. And it's also important to mention that our one of our founding members, Pete, is not here. Andy, like you mentioned him in the beginning, and that's also part of the grief and the change in the last 4 years of really forging on without him, and knowing the pain that he's been going through with his own battle, his own mental battle.
Fill us in on what you know about what's going on with him.
I mean, I'd say probably all three of us, when we first started making music, we were just trying to figure out, what made us tick, how much time we could spend on the road, what filled us up, what emptied us. And it became apparent after maybe 5-6 years that Pete's depression was becoming more and more something to make sure, are we being safe? Like, are we being wise for his sake? He loves this. We love it. But the further we went, the more it seemed like the risk reward just wasn't there. And then it became we took long breaks too. I mean, we stopped touring in 2002, played in 2004 once, played in 2007 once, played in 2009. We've had a lot of time together and apart, but I think sadly, watching Pete continue to battle, his mental illness and mental health. He's got an amazing wife, amazing kids, a great crew of people around him. And each time we would go on tour, it just felt like his primary stability just wasn't there. And at a certain point, even for Chad and I, we started realizing how much of our emotional energy and physical energy was trying to make sure that Pete wasn't going off the rails. And being in a band is exhausting no matter what. So adding extra dynamics of needing to care for each other just got to a point where we're like, this writing together is not working, touring together is not working. And even though he's a dear brother and someone that we love, like, the hardest thing to communicate is, we love you. We can't keep doing this. We love you. It's not safe for you to continue, kind of riding the peaks and valleys of being on tour.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because I don't know that that's something that even many of your fans are aware of, and being very frank with it, and the silver lining that that he is aware of it and working on it. It's really great to hear and really heartening. And you guys, good stewards of your friendship, to be looking out for him and keeping him on the path to what's best for him. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and he's got Dragon Crest Studios. That's the name of his collective record label, his world of generating music. So anyone that wants to support Pete, just get on Dragon Crest Collective and listen to the music he's making. It's awesome.
Nice. Fantastic. See, now that's a weird thing. It's kind of probably a little bit of a misunderstanding. I assumed that the long hiatus you guys took, the several years off from 2002 to 2011, I assume one of you was just really difficult to be around.
It's whoever drew the straw. One of us had to be awful. So.
Will you name names here and dispel that?
Let's see, we're down to 2.
Yeah, now it gets personal. So the Chadwicks, we're talking about people doing their separate thing. The Chadwick Stokes and the Bradigan thing, that your alter egos when you do solo material, are those put aside for a while all things are focused on Dispatch?
Chad can do all of it. I cannot. Chad will write 40 songs for a Dispatch record, and then 30 more for a Chadwick Stokes record, and then come back and do 40 more for a Dispatch record. And I'm like, I might pull a grape from the vine every 7 years.
But when you do,
it's sweet.
Oh.
Yeah. So Chad, both of you play a number of instruments. You play guitar and bass, and you play brass and piano. Where'd you start? Which instrument did you start with?
I started with the trombone.
Okay. Now, was this a school band thing, or?
Yes. School band, 4th grade kind of thing.
Now, why did you get involved with it? Were friends involved with it? Had you always wanted to? Did you have a musical family? What got you into the band?
Yeah, I think, my dad plays piano. And I think as soon as, go to a public school, but, luckily had a good music program. And so this idea that all of a sudden, hey, you're going to learn an instrument here, you could choose what you want. It's like, okay, the trombone seemed fun and kind of like a carnival type instrument. So it seemed like the most fun. And I forget, and some friends did the same thing, and we played it all the way through, high school, in jazz band and pep band at the football rallies and the football games, and it was great timing with the Boston ska scene, because all these ska bands are looking for horn players. And the same thing when Brad and I went to college. Right away as a freshman, I was playing in this like senior funk band, and even the trombone was also my way. When Pete was playing in his own band called Manic Red at my freshman orientation, I went up to him right after. I mean, I'm just barely there. I have no friends. And I talked to Pete for a second, and I said, I play the trombone. Are you ever looking for a horn player? And he was like, yeah, great. So
that's amazing.
And then Hermit Thrush was born, and it was this band that I wanted to be in. And now it's Chad and Pete and those guys. And I'm like, nah, man, I'm just a drummer.
Well, let's talk about that, Brad. You play drums and you play guitar and harmonica. Where did you start? What was your first instrument?
I started singing when I was 6. My grandpa was a singer, and I ended up in the Colorado Children's Chorale, I think, just to have, some discipline with it and a place to grow. And it could be like casual, probably daycare singing, or you could graduate up to like the tour choir, which went all over the place. And I really loved singing. And then I started playing guitar when I was 14 or 15. My parents put a guitar in my hand when they could tell I was trying to figure out a little bit about life, and they hoped that I would do it through music as opposed to through drugs. And
how'd that go?
Yeah. And then drums came in college. Drums came when someone leaned in and said that Chad and Pete and I sounded like, and we always leaned in hoping it was going to be like Pearl Jam or Nirvana or CSN. And they said the Indigo Boys. And we loved the Indigo Girls.
Yeah.
We loved the Indigo Girls, but thought they already had that space nailed. And we thought we were rocking. So I started learning the drums, and Pete and Chad plugged in, and we wanted to start a rock band.
That's great. That's great, man. I wish somebody would have told me I could have been in the band when I was in. All my friends were in it. I'm like, in my family's mind, nobody played an instrument, and it was always like, oh, there's no way you'll learn how to play or read music or something like that. It was just an unspoken thing that I never, really even thought about.
Yeah, it's a good. That right there is a good lesson for us all, as dads and stuff, just to be like, it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, that's the beauty of rock and roll too. It's like, if it's perfect, what's the fun of that?
Yeah.
So it's like, but yeah, just to, just get up there and, I don't know, fake it till you make it.
Give me a blue note and a bead of sweat. Give me a bead of sweat and a blue note.
A bum note. Give me Roger Daltrey. What's it?
Give me a bum note.
And a bead of sweat any day.
That's awesome. That's a good quote. Yeah, my kid's trying to learn how to play the viola right now. It's touch and go in these early days.
Oh, intonation.
Yeah. So what do you think you'd be doing, Brad, if it weren't for music, if music weren't something that you could do as a profession?
Oh man, if I going back 25 years, if it was a different path.
Yeah, let's say it's like that. What was that movie where there were no Beatles?
Oh gosh, that's a great movie.
Yesterday or something?
Yesterday,
Yeah.
There you go. So yeah, if you wake up and music isn't a possibility, what do you think you'd be doing?
I wanted to be. I worked on a wolf reintroduction project in college. Like, I love mountains. I love being in the outdoors. I love wildlife. So I think I would have fashioned some life at the intersection of like being in nature. And I know this is kind of a hard intersection, but I also love teaching and coaching. So if there was a way to have let's say there was a school that was on a mountainside and it was very nature oriented, but you could still play lacrosse and teach kids stuff. I'd love that.
School of wolves.
Yeah. School of wolves.
Wolf
And I wanted to be a marine biologist when I was little. So could we put the ocean by the mountains by the school?
You had me Wolverines there for a second. Yeah. So what about you, Jet? Yeah, right. What do you think you'd be doing if it weren't for this?
I'd be a trombone maker.
15 to life? No.
I don't know, because I guess I like, I don't know, something to do with farming and trees, perhaps. But I also really like the, I think for both Brad and I in the last few years, especially, we've been united on our activism. And, so if I could, I guess I'd like to be like kind of like a revolutionary farmer.
Yeah, I was going to say, can I answer this for Chad, and maybe he can answer it for me? I see Chad wearing a utila kilt because he looks really good wearing, skirts that are fairly manly. I see him leading a charge of people who really value nature, farming, eating from the land, and then having a very communal aspect of taking care of everyone and making sure that no one is being left out. So he is now activist, utila kilt, organitarian.
Nice.
I like it.
You guys are involved in a lot of charitable things, and that bears mentioning as well. Where can people? Is there a place people can go to find out the causes that you get behind if they want to check them out and also contribute?
It's a good question. I mean, there's a couple, but Brad, we should have. I'm sure there's stuff on our website. If you go to dispatchmusic.com, and it'll have some more information on that. Brad and I both have .orgs, and mine is calling all crows
.org.
And it is it is a way for bands to kind of plug into our network and our connections as far as different causes that they're interested in. They can hire us to put a campaign together for them to kind of take advantage of the energy of their fan base if they're interested in a cause. We also have 2-year campaigns that we focus on, and this year we are focusing on mass incarceration and how out of whack that is in our country. And Brad's is called Love, Light, and Melody.
.org. Love, Light, and Melody was founded in Nicaragua, and kind of accidentally finding a group of kids and a township community built inside their city trash dump. So the poorest of the poor that I'd ever seen, but the kids they're just kids. They're kids still, smiling and laughing in the midst of this kind of living hell environment. So we've been working on a documentary for 7 years. It'll come out in the first quarter of next year called Ileana's Smile, to talk about the particular girl that really broke all of our hearts for those kids down there. And then with the proceeds from the film, we're building a school called Ileana School of Hope. That's a elementary school and hopefully someday a full K through 12 high school in that trash dump resettlement community.
That's amazing. Well, good on the both of you. And what's the name of yours again? It's Love, Light, and...
lovelightandmelody.org and callingallcrows.org.
Calling All Crows. Go check that out. And also, they mentioned the website, dispatchmusic.com. Go there, and you can get phase 1, the first phase of many phases to come into fruition, culminate in 2021. May we all, you'll continue to hear that on 88.5 FM. Really nice to get to know you guys a little bit today, Chad and Brad. Thanks for taking time out on a Friday night in Boston to chat with me and our listeners and let us know what you're up to.
Thanks so much, Andy. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Let's do this in person in 2021, yeah? Come out
to
spend some time. All right. Sounds good. All the best to you, and we'll be talking to you soon. This has been a Here at Home with Dispatch on the Independent 88.5 FM.
88.5 FM, KCSN, and KCSN HD1 Northridge, Los Angeles. KSBR and KSBR HD1 Mission Viejo. A service of California State University Northridge and Saddleback College. Member-supported public radio. Streaming on the web at 88.5fm.org.